Welcome to the dinner table, our second episode alongside Cameron and Chloe Murata. I'm Carly Murata. This is fun. We have a fun guest coming up. It's our first podcast guest, Andrew Rowsey. He was a blast to talk to.
Woo woo!
Good to see him.
Yeah.
Good to hear from him. And it was a fun interview, so I think people enjoy that.
One of Marquette's favorites for sure, and I know a lot of Marquette fans are wondering, what is Drew Rowsey up to, just like all of us are. So get excited for that.
Some fun stories from Drew, too. Those are always the best. So how was your guys' week? Chloe, you had a big week.
It was a fun week. I actually helped out the Big East Digital Network. I went to the DePaul first Georgetown women's basketball game at Wintrust Arena. So I headed down to Chicago and just did a little recap of the game, which I felt like it was fun because I don't think that game necessarily would have had a ton of coverage unless I covered it. So it's kind of something.
Something the broadcast.
Something that I'm looking forward to doing in my future. So it was a good start for me.
I guess I didn't even ask you, how did Morrow play for DePaul?
Wasn't there. She transferred to LSU. Kim.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Huge difference. And you know what? I was going to talk about that because DePaul is a completely different team, which is crazy. I mean, Anissa Morrow averaged 25 and 15 for them. But they had a good game. They actually ended up losing at the end. It was a really close one. So my first time covering it, I'm typing on Twitter I was going 90 miles per hour.
Yeah.
There's 9 seconds left in the game and so it was good for me.
It was good practice to think on your feet. You had to do the interview right away. You didn't even have time to prepare questions.
No time to prepare questions. What was nice for me is I was just out of the Big East Conference. So most of these girls I played against,
had a scouting report against them.
Already had a scouting report against them. They've definitely developed as players as they should year by year. But it was good to see.
Coach still there for DePaul?
Coach is still there for Paul.
Yeah.
Coach Bruno.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Said hi to him as well. So, yeah.
Fun.
What's up with you? How's wedding planning? How's everything going?
That's a good question. We had a fun night last night. A good dinner down at
Swinging Door.
Yeah. I like that
place. Good place. Good place.
Right around the corner from us. Wedding planning is going well. I don't even know if we said this, but I'm getting married in August, and we're going to do it in Italy. So it's a lot of planning. Noreen's doing much more planning than me. But it's been fun, and I actually might get together with some friends tonight and talk about it. So
awesome.
Yeah, we're having a good time. How about you?
So just got back from Tampa yesterday. It was good. Covered Wisconsin's bowl game against LSU in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Really good game. I want to talk more about Wisconsin football and the three courses, but I thought it was a really good game. I don't think people expected it to be that good of a game. So that was fun.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a really fun game to watch. Yeah, I'll get more into Wisconsin football, but in general, covered Beach Day, which was a blast.
Talk about Beach Day. I didn't know that
it was fun. So I went down to Clearwater Beach. It's just it was cool to cover these guys not about football.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, it's I'm interviewing them, and we're just talking about, being at the beach. What's it like? And these guys, I'm like...
And how many days is this before the game?
This is... So this was on Saturday. Game was on Monday.
Okay.
2 days before.
Yeah.
So they were funny. James Thompson, he's the best. He's the defensive end for the Badgers. He's a guy you can just talk about anything. So they're like, who do you want to interview? I'm like, James for sure. How's the beach? And he could go on for 20 minutes. And it's that's the guy you need to interview. And he was funny. He was joking around about not being able to swim, and the guys were helping him out there, and they were trying to get him to do the race into the ocean. He's like, if I'm going in there, I'm never coming back, and I'm not playing on Monday. You don't want me doing that. So it was just cool to be around the guys.
Is LSU out there on the beach as well? Or no?
They were in a different section.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Could get a little dangerous in there if that's the case.
Yeah, both coaches were out there, all the fans. So Beach Day was a blast.
I think it's kind of funny. I mean, you talked about this, but I think it's kind of fun to see athletes out of their comfort zone and kind of still see them being as competitive as they are on the field.
Yeah, I said the same thing. It's of course they're doing races to touch the buoy out there and get back, and who's going to be back the fastest. That's just kind of how athletes are,
Well, yeah, you know me. I'm a big athlete.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, Beach Day was fun, and then the next day we had the New Year's Eve parade. So I covered that down in Ybor City. So yeah, it was a fun weekend. And then the next day was the game. It was crazy busy. I was exhausted by the end of it. One man banding it out there. But Jake was my photog for a little bit.
That had been fun.
Yeah. So.
Jake is Carly's husband.
Yeah.
And Carly usually is the ultimate traveler. She travels with millions of bags. This carries her camera, her tripods. I mean, how many things do you have in your hands going on those flights?
I'm literally like, I don't know if I'm going to make it on the tram because there's so many bags that I have. But also I'm just like not the best. I'm working on the traveling, but I rented a car for the first time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that text?
First time
the
renting.
panic text of where do I go for the rental car?
Renting a car. So I'm taking like 3 trams. I get to the rental spot and I'm looking at my email. I'm like, I don't see the name. I don't see Expedia. Anywhere. That's where I rented the car. And so I sent you guys it and I'm like, help. Immediately help. And Cameron, you're like.
Did that solve it or no?
Yeah. Cameron's like, if you see.
I'll tell it. She sent us a picture, literally a screenshot of how to find the car. And the main bullet point underneath the picture was find your car here.
Click here.
Click here to find your car in the airport. She's like, where do I go? I was like, I'd probably
start by clicking the button.
Click that link, maybe.
Yeah. So believe it or not, you click the link and it just tells you like exactly where to go pick up the car.
Technology these days.
Yeah. So.
But you just carry everything.
Thank you.
Then it's insane. And so then.
That'd stress me out.
Yeah.
And so her husband Jake comes with her to Tampa, and he's got a cute little picture of him holding the camera up for Carly and recording everything that she. How many live shots did you do that weekend?
I can't. 25. I don't even know. So many.
I mean, it's impressive. Yeah. So maybe we'll clip one of those pics in and show you Jake holding the camera.
Yeah,
I think that was
MVP for sure.
A great touch.
All right, let's get into our 3 courses.
Let's get into it.
I'm just excited for everyone to hear the video or the interview. So.
I know.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go because we're already talking Wisconsin football. Yeah. So I think the way they played against LSU was incredibly impressive. People were saying, they're gonna get beat by at least 25. Mm-hmm. Some were even thinking more than that. So incredibly impressed with how they played against LSU. They really should have won the game. And they didn't have Braylon Allen. They didn't have Chim Dike. They didn't have some of their top defensive guys because so many guys opted out. For LSU, only their quarterback didn't play.
Yeah.
One of their top receivers only played like the first half, but still, it was just impressive. And I think
everybody else was there for LSU.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
13th ranked LSU.
And the way, I watched the game. The way Wisconsin moved the ball offensively is kind of what I think people have been hoping for all season. Obviously, Mordecai was injured. He was out for
3 games with a broken hand.
Yeah. But he looked great in that game.
Yeah.
I think their season would have been a little different if he played the entirety. And then some of those receivers they had, number 9, I'm not sure quite what his name is, but I think he's from Cincinnati.
Yeah, so we got Will Pauling, who's number 6, who you might be talking about. But Bryson Green also had a great game.
Yeah.
Will Pauling from Cincinnati.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I'm mentioning.
He had 106 or 113 yards after the first half.
We looked like LSU running the spread offense, gunning it down the field. I say we. I'm a Wisconsin football fan, but I don't know if I say the we. But it was fun to watch because they're airing it out, and Mordecai looked good, and he was running it, and it's definitely promising for the future, I think. And Coach Fickle can get the job done, and Longo is that offensive coordinator over there. I think they're going to be airing it out and slinging it all over the place for years to come. It's be fun to watch.
Yeah, so that was my takeaway. It's promising for the future. It's exciting for the future. I'm interested to see what happens at running back moving forward. They have a guy, Tawee Walker, coming in. He is a transfer from Oklahoma. So that'll be interesting. He was the backup at Oklahoma, and then they have a couple 4-star recruits. But, Jackson Aker had a really good game against LSU, so we'll kind of see what happens, but I think that'll be a really intriguing position. Obviously quarterback, but I think that'll be an intriguing position moving forward too, just because running back has been so essential to the Badgers offense.
Yeah.
Honestly, Big Ten was a little surprising in these bowl games. I know obviously Michigan had the big win, but other top Big Ten teams didn't do as well in the bowl games. And so
Iowa got smoked by Tennessee. I'm not really sure. Ohio State lost to Missouri.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Wisconsin still lost, but they look good at least.
Yeah. Right. I know.
I know. We're talking over
you
like
kind
they
of
won.
forget that. Yeah, but it was a good performance. So, all right, what do you got? More football?
I'll stay with the football talk. Yeah. My segment dish is going to be on the Packers. Obviously, they look great against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Love, just continues to tear it up for the Packers. I think I mean, really,
Offensive player of the week.
Offensive player. We couldn't be luckier,
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm trying to say. I mean, I grew up for the short part of my life as a Packer fan. We had Brett Favre. I was young. He was fantastic, so fun to watch. You go into Aaron Rodgers. I mean, say what you want about him. The dude is one of the elite quarterbacks of all time. Obviously, we won a Super Bowl. I will say we for the Packers because I love them.
And all Packer fans say we.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But and now we have Jordan Love, and some franchises go 30 years. If you're the Jets, you haven't had one good quarterback in this long, and we've got another one, and
we're spoiled.
Spoiled. He's tearing it up. One thing I will want to mention is the Jair Alexander situation. It's something that me and my buddies have been talking about. Like, it's just so crazy to me. And I did see people saying, well, why are you suspending him for Sunday Night Football against the Vikings? Like,
no,
you got to suspend him.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
talk about the situation because I need a little more information about it, but I know people listening too.
Yeah, so there was a game in Carolina. Obviously, before any NFL game or football game, you send out your captains to do the coin toss beforehand. Packers, especially with the Packers, I mean, with the historic franchise, it means something to be a captain. They sent out 3 guys. Jair felt like, he was...
He's from there.
He's from there.
That's why.
I wanted to actually do some research. How many people are from Carolina on the team? But, he thinks he's from there, so he should jump back in and be a captain. But coach didn't name him captain. So he goes out to the coin flip. And not only is he out there and shouldn't be out there, but he's out there and he's the one who's talking to the referee. And
they win the coin toss.
They win the coin toss, and he doesn't say we'll defer, which means we'll take the ball in the second half. He says we'll send the defense out there. So essentially what that means is if we send the defense out there, we're not only giving up our right to receive in the next half, but we're not going to receive at all, which nobody does. It's idiotic, basically, what it is. And
he got lucky because the ref
corrected him and said you wanted to defer. And then you see his post-game interview afterwards, and the guy is obviously an airhead. And I love him because he's a good cornerback when he's out there. But this season, I don't know if I've had a Packer in recent history where you love him so much and he goes through one season, you're like, gosh, you couldn't just be more disappointed in his off-the-field behavior and on-the-field behavior. Not a lot of people say with his injuries, he's going through a contract a year and could he have been out there because, most of the time, if you got a guy who's injured for that long, you're going to send him on IR. I think the Packers were probably hoping he could play in some of those games, and he ended up not being able to.
Yeah.
So it's a frustrating deal.
And the suspension going off of that obviously was for more than just like Matt LaFleur was like, it's not just one thing.
Not just one thing.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot leading up to that, but that was just crazy.
Yeah.
A captain goes out there that's not named a captain.
To disrespect that whole situation like that, honestly, I think is deserving of a suspension regardless. And I might be over the top with that, but...
And it's just for one game?
Yeah,
it was just
he'll
for
be
the
back
Vikings
now.
game. So they obviously did well without him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been impressive how they've played without him.
Sometimes that's how it is, though. When you got a guy in the locker room, and I'm sure they like him, but when you have a guy who's kind of more about himself than he is about the team, sometimes you play even better. It hurts you.
Hurts you
no
bad.
matter how skilled or whatever.
Yeah. So now, Carly, you're going to head to the Packers' next game.
Yeah, so excited on Sunday, actually going as a fan.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I forgot to mention as a fan. There's a group of 6 of us going to the game. I don't know the last time I've been as a fan. I got years.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun.
Won't have to tug around all those heavy cameras.
No heavy cameras. I can speak. I can cheer in the press box.
You can drink.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could have a beer or two, but in the press box, you can't, you'd laugh. You can't say anything. Like, if someone cheers, you look at them like, what are you doing, man? But, so it'll be fun just to be a fan on Sunday.
Good. I'm excited. Well, we're going to have your update too then next interview probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off and talk a little bit about what we know best in basketball. Okay, so my course for this week, I'm sure you guys have all seen a million videos, but Caitlin Clark does Caitlin Clark things every single game, and last night she hit a buzzer beater to avoid a big upset from Michigan State at home. She also ended up having 40 points that game as well, so that's her 10th 40-point game.
Did you hear it? Did you hear the clip, the microphone on the rim?
Are you saying regarding the shot clock or what?
No. Okay, you probably didn't hear it, but on Twitter they keep playing like the shot, and there's a microphone right on the rim, and the nothing but net is like it's like what do you call it? You just like the sound?
It's just satisfying.
Yes.
Do that one more time.
That's literally what it was.
It's nice.
Yeah.
But even so, she was interviewed after the game, and they kind of asked her about the shot and everything like that. And she says that the minute it left her fingertips, she knew it was in.
Love the confidence.
And the confidence,
I'm sure she did.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the way that she can shoot the ball, I wouldn't. That's definitely how she felt. But I kind of want to talk about the game a little bit, just because Michigan State is obviously unranked team. You're playing Iowa at Iowa, which is very, very difficult, the fans that they bring in. So with 42 seconds left in the game, they were tied up 71-71. And this is something that Caitlin has never talked about but defensively, she has this huge block. Swatted it, talked her shit, kind of got it. You know how she is. And so Iowa gets the ball back, okay? One of their guards, Molly Davis, is a fifth year. She does a little Drew Rowsey. Yeah. Shot fake on the three-point line. Girl runs out at her. And it's a very controversial call. In my opinion, she was not in the act of shooting. And we'll show this clip. But she gets to the free throw line and now has 3 free throws to shoot. Hits 2 out of the 3. So now Iowa's up 2. Michigan State runs way back down. Hits a layup. Great move.
Watch this. Shot fake. Gets 3. What do you think?
They said that she was shooting here?
Yeah, she gets 3
well,
free
first
throws.
off, I think that she trips the Michigan State girl. No, I'll take that back. She's running out hard on her, but there's no way she was in the shooting motion.
Right.
And watch, she kicks out her right foot here.
Pump fake, and then she's on her way to drive.
That's on the ground. I mean, that to me, that's the bonus. But Michigan State only has 3 fouls. They wouldn't even have been shooting free throws anyways.
Yeah.
So she goes to the line.
A little bit of home cooking there.
I would like to agree with that.
I think the referee might have had a Caitlin Clark jersey underneath his shirt.
Yeah, so Molly Davis goes to the line for 3 shots. She hits 2 of 3. And then Michigan State's, her name's Dee Dee. She comes down and has a phenomenal move to the basket. Just quick, easy. But then, 22 seconds left, and we have Caitlin Clark on your team.
Yeah.
Not much more you can do. Defender kind of turns around, and she's trying to face guard her and kind of goes for the steal a little bit. I don't think you look at anything else about 22 on that jersey.
Yeah.
So that a little bit there. And, so Caitlin Clark ends it with the game winner.
She's money.
She is money. You can see pictures on Instagram. The ball left her fingertips with 0.1 seconds left on the clock. So not only is she a great shooter, but...
And people are giving her flack because the TV copy... The shot clock actually went out on the TV copy, but they were ahead of what was going on in the game.
Yes.
And so if you're watching just on TV, it looks like she doesn't get the shot off clearly. I mean, it was like almost a half a second off. So she got it off with 0.1 in the game, and they show it where the ball has clearly left her hand and the shot clock's still going in the game. But on TV, I saw some people tweeting like, she didn't get it off.
Yeah.
Doug Gottlieb, he's kind of annoying.
Yeah. Oh my God. But Kim Adams, she's, like her a lot. She tweeted and was like, this is the problem with broadcasting here.
She cleared it up. There you go,
So she
Kim.
clears it
Thanks,
up.
Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
All right, let's do a little Marquette update. We talked about 2 big games coming up on the first podcast. Now those games have been played. So what do you guys want to start with?
I'll start with the women's.
Okay.
So
Marquette, UConn.
Actually, UConn handed Marquette their first loss of the season. And I turn on the game. And listen, I've played UConn plenty of times. And almost every single time I play UConn, they're up 7-0 to start the game.
Yep.
Coach Duffy calls a timeout. But not this time. I turn on the TV and it's 10-0 Marquette. And I go, all right, this is going to be a good game. Gino calls a timeout. Mm-hmm. Gets into Paige Beckers a little bit about how she was getting open on screens. Gets into his team. UConn comes back out, and that's the last lead for Marquette. UConn takes over from that. It's about a 30-point game the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You tell Paige to shoot more?
So he told Paige she was being impatient. She was trying too hard to get the ball. She was not waiting on screens. And then she came out. She was real patient at that point. I mean, Paige Beckers is a phenomenal player. Rose Nakumu is a phenomenal defender.
Right.
And the way Paige Beckers ended with 25 points in that game, she's just so smooth, and she can get that shot off. She's long, lengthy. That pull-up jumper is hard to contest for anyone. But, so, I mean, love to hear what Gino said to his team at that point. I think a lot of it might have had to do with the boards, considering Marquette, that was their biggest struggle of the game. They lost the board battle 32-47. And UConn
won in the boards.
Yep, so Marquette lost the board battle. And that's big. I think as a Marquette player, we talk about plus 10 on the boards almost every single game. If you get plus 10 on the boards, you're looking really good. We're thinking we're going to get a win. So the fact that they lost that bad at the board battle, UConn had a lot of second chance opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, obviously UConn is tough to beat, and especially once you beat them once last year, they're not going to be sleepwalking at anything against you. And playing them at UConn, I've never played there before.
XL Center?
Do they play at the same arena as the men?
XL Center. They kind of switch back and forth, but they're playing at the XL Center more.
I know the men's arena is tough to play in, and I'm sure that the women's environment is packed. And yeah, but Marquette, only one loss this year, still off to a great start.
Yep, still off to a great start. They actually played St. John's tonight at 6 p.m. So I will give you guys that update on our next thing. St. John's, they play at St. John's. It's always a tough game for us. They're always competitive. It's a super athletic team that they have, and rebounding is really going to be the key. Practicing with Marquette this week, we did a lot of rebounding, and I was wearing a green jersey as the top rebounder, trying to get everything, and so hoping that helped him out a little bit. But
that's fun. You get to do that. That's cool.
Yeah, you really have the inside look too.
It's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I love Coach Duffy and anything I can do to give back to that program. So I'm looking forward to tonight. We'll see who comes out and plays. And, I think the biggest thing about Coach Duffy's teams is losing 2 in a row is not something we're used to.
Yeah.
So this bounce back and the mentality that the girls are going to have, I hope to see a good one.
I like it. I'll get into Marquette men's just a little bit. Obviously, we have a great interview coming up with Andrew Rowsey. And so I think this is a little bit of a good precursor. But both Chloe and I were at the Marquette Creighton game over the weekend. Obviously, they're bouncing back here after a loss to did they have a game in between Providence? Now it's been a little while.
No, I don't think.
They lost to Providence, and then the next game was Creighton, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they had a game right before Christmas break.
I know. Christmas break jacked me up. Carly will do a little research, but...
So, Georgetown.
Oh, they beat... Yep. That was,
by 30.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, they bounced back against Georgetown, but obviously this was their next tough battle.
Big-time opponent.
Big-time opponent. Another ranked team, I should say. And it was a tough game, and I think everybody thought it was going to be. Obviously, Creighton, they're not only fast and run up tempo and can hit shots, but they also have Kalkbrenner inside, who's a beast and tough to keep off the boards. And I thought Marquette, after getting off to a sluggish start,
down by 11 points,
but they never really wavered. Like, at least as a fan in the stands the whole time, I felt pretty comfortable that Marquette was going to come back and win. And it's helpful to have a guy like Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro and Cam Jones out there who are steady Eddie. And even when they get down by 11, they're still confident and know that, they make a couple shots here and there and get a couple buckets, they're right back into it.
Yeah, I think...
Go ahead.
No, wanted to say, talking about that confidence, I want to bring up Sean Jones. And actually in our interview with Drew Rowsey, he brings him up as well. But he was 3 of 5 from the three, but those threes were critical threes. Yeah. Very critical. He wasn't having a good shooting year so far.
And he mentioned that even afterwards. I saw a clip of him saying, he knows that he was struggling. And tell you what, you give him credit because you got 17,000 people there in the arena. They're leaving you open. They're giving him space to shoot it and to have the confidence to continue to shoot, and not only to continue to shoot, but to knock it down.
And to get it off against those big guys. I mean, Sean Jones is not a tall guy by any means. But I want to say, because he mentioned this in his media afterwards, and I thought this was really cool. They were saying, you're having a tough shooting year, but you hit these critical shots. Where are you getting this confidence from? And we talked about how connected Marquette is, and he said, he talks about Tyler texted him, keep shooting. Yep. We see each other in gym all the time, but he said he subbed in for Cam Jones, and Cam said, look at the rim.
Yeah.
And he said the next time he was open, he shot the ball because Cam Jones said, look at the rim, and he knocked it down. And I mean, that is why Marquette is different than other teams, because of that connectedness.
That's a good point. And I think you see one of the threes that Sean made, I think his biggest one, I think the last one he hit, Cam's on the floor with him, and the first person to go up to him and chest bumping him and yelling and screaming is Cam. So
it almost gives me a little bit of chills.
Absolutely. I didn't know he said that in the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
That's cool, and this just shows you the type of person that Cam is too. And the team's loaded with those guys. I mean, 1 through 12, they got guys who care about each other more than they do about themselves. Yeah. And it makes a difference when it comes to winning and losing.
And one of the biggest guys in that aspect is Stevie Mitchell.
Absolutely.
Who came back after a hamstring injury and was in that game against Creighton. And as people talk about it as a glue kid. I think he's more than a glue kid, but I think that's his biggest thing, and was a huge part of why they won. And then Oso against Kalkbrenner, I mean, he had 16 boards
Boom.
So that's
Yeah.
the difference in
That's
that, you know.
And that's been big for Marquette
Is that
to own the glass a
Yeah.
little bit more. It looks like they out-rebounded them by 10.
Yeah, so also maybe didn't have the best shooting night, shooting percentage wise, but he did take a 3, which I was happy to see that.
3 when they were down.
3
too.
when they were down, and I like to see that confidence.
Yeah.
Anytime I go in the gym, Oso shooting 3s. So I
I
like
like
to
it.
see it.
Nice.
Go
You know
ahead.
what I mean? Go
Yeah,
ahead and shoot
if
that.
anyone deserves it to get up a shot here or there, also obviously.
100%.
I mean, he's gonna get you those rebounds. You gotta give him some freedom too, and I'm sure Coach Smart and Shaka
Green
understands
light
that.
on
so,
anyone, yeah.
Yeah.
But 16 boards was very impressive. So yeah, looking forward to seeing their next matchup.
At Seton Hall on Saturday.
Not gonna be easy.
And
Seton
then-
Hall, tough place to play, even though they're having a down year for them, I would say. I mean, not down. They just won their first Big East game too, against I think they beat Creighton.
Let's check it out. And that's an 11 a.m. tip, so that's pretty early.
Who they beat
So
at home?
They beat
Oh, they beat
UConn.
UConn, yeah.
Just lost to Xavier.
So
by
that's
20.
a tough place to play.
It's a tough place. And I mean, in the past, Seton Hall and Marquette has gotten a little chippy.
Absolutely.
A little chippy. I mean,
Yeah.
remember
Always.
the Madison Square Garden?
Yep.
Getting a little chippy there.
And they play where the New Jersey Devils play. It's a hockey arena, and that fan base, little spillage there. We'll have to clip that.
Oh,
That's
your
funny.
sweatshirt.
Just water. Let's continue.
That fan base there, they treat it like a hockey environment. First off, their student section is literally on your bench, and they dress in costume. So there'll be like 3 lobster guys dressed in full lobster costumes talking shit like the whole time to the walk-ons. And it's just a wild, kind of crazy,
New Jersey,
something what
East
you expect
Coast.
from New Jersey East Coast environment.
For
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, so we're excited to see that. Update on women's basketball at St. John's. They play again this weekend against Xavier, so
Yeah.
a lot of games to recover.
It's
or
like
to
the
cover.
best time in sports right now.
It is.
Packers are 1 win away from the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, the Badger basketball team just got a huge win against Iowa last night. So we got a lot to talk about, but for now, we're going to send it to that interview with Andrew Rowsey.
Rowsey coming in on the backside, coming away with a turnover. Transition 3. Got it. Rowsey tries again. He got it to fall. Rowsey on the runner 3. Wow. Rowsey, that's the response. OMG.
We are now bringing in our first podcast guest, Drew Rowsey, who played for Marquette from 2016 to 2018. Rowsey played 2 seasons for UNC Asheville before transferring to Marquette. He broke Dwayne Wade's single-season scoring record with
Yes, sir.
716 points as a senior.
Is that still going?
set-
Is that good still?
Yeah, it's still
Sorry
good.
to
It's still good.
interrupt.
Also set a single season record for 3-pointers made with 125. Welcome to the podcast, Drew.
Yeah. Woo.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So you've been at the Murata dinner table probably most out of any of our friends. What do you remember from being at the Murata dinner table?
It's an honor to be at the Murata dinner table, first of all. Just a lot of good laughs, a lot of good conversations, and it's always a lot of good people at the dinner table.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So what are you up to? We're all wondering, what is Drew Rowsey up to?
Not a whole lot. Still trying to figure out this basketball thing. That's always the fun journey. Chloe probably knows the professional side is kind of stressful and can give you a lot of curveballs and knuckleballs. So just figuring that out. Still trying to figure out basketball while getting into, a few other things. As we get older, our interests and our hobbies can start to gravitate towards other things that we didn't really like growing up. So it's always fun to get into that kind of stuff. And now we can kind of, afford doing those things where we didn't really have the funds growing up. So just getting into the world and really trying to, get back into basketball like Cam and Chloe do back in Wisconsin, where you kind of give back to the community. So I think now that I've gotten into, the latter part of my career, the giving back on the basketball side is really fun for me. And that's where I'm finding, a lot of joy where I didn't think I would find that, in the first part of my career, everybody would ask, do you want to get back into coaching? Do you want to, do work out kids and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, it would be fun. Never really thought about it much, but, as you progress, you you kind of see that that's where you want to give back. And you guys know, we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of experience. We went through a lot. So we kind of, have I wouldn't say the best knowledge, but, we have the most and really beneficial knowledge to where we can help out. So just been doing that kind of stuff. And, trying to keep myself busy. I have a lot of free time. So you guys probably know too much free time is kind of a bad thing.
Does your dad still rebound for you at all, or is he too old? Does your dad rebound for you still?
Yeah, he does. He still goes to the gym with me here and there. He keeps himself busy with his business, but yeah, he still goes with me here and there. He, you know how it is with the dads. They're in your ear a little too much, and they think even still they know more than you.
Man, I miss Chris, man. It's been a while since we saw him. Yeah. And your mom. Is he still getting pissed when you're missing too far and he's got to rebound and run all over the place?
Yeah, because he's getting older too. So those long rebounds, I'm like, I got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, I wanted to get into a little bit. Obviously, we'll touch base on your Marquette career and some of the time we spent together there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how you grew up around basketball and when you kind of first knew that basketball was going to be something you wanted to do, and maybe even like what kind of work ethic did you have when you were growing up, and when did you know that you were going to be able to play at a high level like you did in college?
That's a good question. For me, I think I know you pretty well. I think same goes for you. I grew up playing pretty much every sport I could, and I played, I think, every soccer, football, basketball, and baseball. So I'm pretty sure you played all of them as well. Maybe not soccer, but
a little soccer.
For me, basketball really didn't come about until about high school, because I love baseball so much growing up. And when you're in a season, you stay so busy throughout that season, you don't really get to work on any other games. So for me, when I was in baseball, it was baseball, football, it was football, and basketball is basketball. And kind of when I got into, I really wasn't that good at basketball. 6th or 7th grade, I just could shoot, and I worked really hard. I had a good work ethic, so I could maintain and stay on the court. But for me, when I started playing AAU in 8th and 9th grade with Team Loaded, the program from Richmond, it just opened up another kind of level and world of basketball that was more fun, more competitive. You start seeing big names, you start seeing, big coaches at your games. And with baseball, it was kind of slowing down. It's a winter sport. You play when it's cold out. And for me, it was just, I started locking in on basketball. And I mean, to be honest, I had to work really hard at it. Basketball really didn't come to me that easy. Ball handling didn't come that easy. Obviously, my athletic abilities didn't come that easy. You have to work on those. So, stuff like that, it took a lot. So for me, the ball got rolling, freshman, sophomore year with basketball. And, it just kind of progressed from there. And I started to get a few smaller offers, so I kind of knew that I wanted to go in that route. And, that was – what was the other question you asked with that?
I mean, you kind of answered it, but you probably towards 8th grade, 9th grade year when you're playing for Team Loaded obviously you went to UNC Asheville first before Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned you had a couple offers. When did you really feel like, hey, I'm an elite shooter. I have skill here, and I think I could do this not only in college but even beyond?
Well, to be honest, it took a while to build that confidence, just because I had so many people in my ear telling me, it was going to be hard to get there. It was going to be hard to, even play at that level. So I still even remember I would go to VMI, Virginia Military Institute. It's a Division I college where I'm from in Lexington. And my dad, we're still good family friends with the coach that was previously there. But I remember I was working out there one time, and he was watching me work out, and he came up to my dad, and he was like, he's going to have to, really improve getting his shot off. Like, he gets it off way too slow. And this is, I think I was, a sophomore then. And just remember hearing, him say that, I was like, dang, I got, a lower level coach coming up to me telling me that, I need to, that it's going to be a long shot for me to get there. So, when you're growing up, you don't really picture yourself as a kid going to VMI. You picture yourself going to, Duke, UNC, probably from Wisconsin, Marquette.
Yep.
So for me, it was like hearing that kind of, hurt. So it was just for me, hearing all these things just made me get in the gym, want to work that much harder. So, yeah, it took a lot for me to build that confidence up. And, you kind of have to, experience a few things and go through it to build that confidence. So for me, having a really good junior and senior year in high school, and then, going and following that up with a really good year at Asheville, that really is where I got my confidence. And then, as you guys know, you can lose that confidence just as quick. So it's big, to, build that confidence up. And always, I think it's big to, don't let anyone else, don't let outside noises, tear you down. So that was big, and that was something I had to learn.
And I'll let these guys talk. It's not just a conversation between me and you, but I think a lot of
I
people...
don't mean to get carried away either, so you can cut me off whenever.
No, it's good, man. A lot of people don't know Drew in high school in Virginia. How many points you score around ballpark?
I think it was 2,900, 2,800.
So 2,800 in high school. It broke AI's record, right, in Virginia?
Well,
or did you get close
so I was
to?
second. So Allen Iverson, actually, he didn't play his senior year at high school because I think he got locked up or something going into his junior year. So he played 3 seasons of high school. So I say I broke his record, but I played an extra season than him. But I broke everybody except for one person, and then Mac McClung, you guys have probably heard of him.
Yeah.
He then broke my record either the previous year or the next year after that. So I think I sit third now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty strong list to be a part of, I think. I want to go back to talking about your shot, because I think that's what a lot of people know Drew Rowsey for is first of all, your confidence and how you played on the court, but also the shooting ability was incredible to watch and obviously still is. So can you just talk about how you developed that? I know you talked about your dad rebounding for you. Is that something that came natural? I know you talked about your rebounding or your ball handling didn't, but let's talk about your shot a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it came natural. It came a lot easier than the other parts. And obviously, like I said, a lot of repetition, a lot of nights in the gym, like a lot of early mornings. You got Chloe, I've seen you know what that takes. So, I would just say for me, I really didn't have, a coach, a specific, basketball coach growing up. I had my dad. So really my dad taught me, everything I know that kind of involved the game. So he taught me, he would break down my form with me. We would go to the gym. We would, when I was 6th, 7th grade, I was really weak. So he wouldn't let me really shoot threes if I got out of my form. Like I remember it'd be several times where it would turn into like a push and he'd be like, no, we're not shooting threes. Like, so it would be like that to where it'd be frustrating, to some nights wanting to go to the gym because, like, you're not going to get to do the stuff you want because you're going to get forced to do what he wants you to do. But at the end of the day,
over there shooting 10-footers.
I don't think I would want to do it any other way. What'd you say?
Over there shooting 10-footers.
Yeah, no, really though. So that's how it would start. We would start right under the basket, form shots, and then just slowly gravitate back. And
that's good to hear, man.
Sometimes where he wouldn't let me get outside of where it would mess up my form. So it just taught me, mechanics and to build strength in areas to where I could keep that same form. So that was big for me.
When you started getting fouled on the 3-pointer, when did you know that was going to be your thing?
Actually, I'm trying to remember when that actually because it didn't happen I didn't have that in high school. I think it came about my freshman or sophomore year in Asheville. I started to use the pump fake a lot. And I would just remember I would pump fake and I really wouldn't have anything to do with it. And like I said, my dad, he's at every game. You guys know he's always there and involved. So after one of the games, me and him were just talking. He was like, hey, just start like jumping into the guys. Like, he's like, you shoot like 90-some% from the free throw line. He was like, you get them up in the air. And this was before like they changed that rule to where like you have that vertical space or whatever, the cylinder.
Yeah.
This is before where like you could kind of jump wherever and like just get into the guy. So he was like, just jump into them, and if the refs call it, they call it. You get 2 free throws. He was like, you're gonna make them, so just start doing that. And I was like, why not? And it just started working really well for me. And I mean, you guys know free throws help out a lot during a game, and if you can go out there and knock down anywhere from 6 to 10 free throws as a person, that goes a long way. So it went a long way for me, and it kind of turned into something itself. So.
Yeah, so I guess we got to give credit to Chris Rowsey for the thing.
All credit where credit is due.
He was scheming. He was in the stand scheming how to get some more points.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, something's got to give here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this Marquette career a little bit. Carly, if you want to lead into that.
Yeah. We want to talk about your career on and off the court, but let's start with on. What's one of your favorite memories, one of your favorite games as a player at Marquette?
On the court, you said?
On the court.
On the court, that I think Cam would know. That would be a kind of an easy one.
Villanova.
It would be Villanova, just because of the feeling that came from that. Just because of, it didn't only affect us; it affected pretty much everyone who was a part of Marquette. And I think everyone who's a part of Marquette that plays a sport that wins at a really high level or accomplishes something really big as a team. You would know it doesn't affect just you. It affects the city, the university. It affects everybody. So that was really the cool feeling from that.
One of the, I don't know if you remember this, but so we beat Villanova. They're number 1 in the country, court storming. Obviously, we're running around having a great time in the locker room. We take the team bus home, and it drops us off at Campus Town. Do you remember getting off at Campus Town, and there was like hundreds of students outside the bus? It was, and then it broke into an immediate like dance battle out there. I just remember being like, "What is going on? Like, this is the craziest night ever." We got out the bus and like immediately like Zach's out there like dance battling somebody.
That was a really fun night. So many things happened. That was a really fun time. That may be the best on and off the court memory. So we can just put that as 2 for 1.
And then we went to Murphy's and shut it down. That was also fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess just talking about, we talked about the off-court experience a little bit too. So you're a great player at Marquette, but more than most student athletes, you like to enjoy the off-court things as well.
So to have fun.
You like to have a little fun, And I think Cam was a part of that fun most of the time as well. So, I mean, Cam, you can kind of lead this, but let's kind of talk about your off-court experience and just how you wanted to balance between, having a good college life, but also being a great student athlete on top of it.
Well, that was the thing for me. More so at Marquette was just what Marquette provided outside of basketball was something that really I never had growing up. I come from a small town, so really for me it was the gym. That's all I knew growing up was the gym. I went to Asheville. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Asheville, but it's a smaller, North Carolina kind of city out in the mountains that not a lot goes on. It's just a beautiful touristy kind of city. So for me, it was just a learning experience being there and living away from home. So outside of, basketball, there was really, not a lot going on. So for me, when I got to Marquette, seeing Milwaukee, being a part of, the community at Marquette with the connections that, are involved there, it just opened up something that I'd never been a part of, and meeting Cam, Cam's my best friend probably from Marquette. So meeting him and the group we had outside of basketball, Cam knows the group that we had. It was probably 5 of us that didn't play sports, but are probably, some of my best buddies to this day that we talk to on a weekly basis. And I would hang out with them pretty much every day. So for me, it was just, and basketball demanded so much of us when we were in basketball. I mean, Cam, Chloe, you played on the women's team. It demands so much of you to sometimes when you get done with it, you don't want to think about it. Mm-hmm. And for me, having those friends and, having those outlets provided so much for me to when I got away from basketball, I could just clear my mind and be a normal student, be a normal human, to where when I got back into it, nothing would ever take away from when I got into basketball. I wasn't working hard. I wasn't, locked in. I wasn't, there on time. We were always giving it, 100%. But at the end of the day, we were humans too, and we were college kids where we wanted to enjoy, the experiences, what Marquette provided as a school, not just for what we did on the court. And like I said, I don't regret it because I would have never met those guys to this day. I would have never, had the connections, the memories. I would have never had any of that. So for me, that goes a long ways with me.
That's a good way to put it. I agree with that fully because, when you're playing college sports, and I was a walk-on, so I wasn't, I was at all the practices, the weightlifting and stuff, but there's pressure on you in the game that I wouldn't even really feel either. And Chloe gets it though, you definitely want to have some fun. You want to enjoy your time outside of basketball. We definitely did. We probably enjoyed it a little too much sometimes, but not unlike any other college kid, I don't think. And one of the things I was telling Chloe and Carly about, and we've talked about this before, is we would get in trouble every once in a while for having too much fun. I would say we won't get into the thick of it, but one thing about Drew was when we would get into this trouble, Drew was like one of the best conditioned athletes on the team. And I'm not throwing shade here, but we have great athletes on the team. Like, Sakar is a man-child. You got Ed Morrow, who can lift all the weights in the world. And these guys look like Greek gods. And then you got me and you who are kind of similar body type, right? But Rowsey could run like no other, man. Like, we would get in trouble, and they'd send you down to the track. And it got to a point where Drew was so good at running the mile, he should have probably joined the Olympics.
This is the funny story, and Diener can probably tell you guys this story too. We had to run 5 miles at 5 a.m. 5 days a week, the 5x5x5. And the first day we get to the track, I ran my 5 miles, I think, right over 30 minutes. And I just looked at Diener and was like, are we done? And he was like, yeah, and just got in the car and we went back. So the next day I get down there and I see Diener's not there. It's Todd Smith. And I'm like, what's going on? And Todd's like, I heard yesterday was kind of easy for you. And I'm like, with Todd Smith, you guys, Todd Smith. I had to kind of play it off. I was like, no, it wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, today you're running it backwards. So I hope you're ready. And I was like, backwards? It took me 2.5 hours.
Oh, my God. I could only imagine.
I had to run 5 miles backwards.
What's that like?
That's insane.
Are you backpedaling for a certain amount of time?
I'm not good at that, FYI.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. What are you doing? What's the strategy there? You backpedaling for a quarter mile, then walking, or
kind of turn my head and kind of sidewind it, and then my neck started to hurt from that. So I just had to kind of just look down and just go.
What'd you have the next day?
I think the next day he turned it into because that was kind of over the top. He turned it into I think it was a sprint the sides and then backpedal the turns.
That boy Todd creative now.
Like that, where
get creative.
Yeah, but 25 miles in a week is brutal to say the least.
Yeah, that's crazy. But just like you said, it might have been worth it to you. You met a lot of good friends out there in Marquette, and I don't know if that time was worth it necessarily, but yeah. In the long run, it was worth it. For sure. All right, well, I want to lead into the Marquette team now and just kind of hear your thoughts about everything. Obviously, they're having a very successful year. Last 2 years have been great. Coach Shaka's doing wonderful with the team. Kind of talk about, your thoughts on this team, where you think they could go. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I'm actually a huge fan of this team. So actually, I was at the tournament game last year when they got knocked out to Michigan State. Should it be Michigan State? But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this team nonetheless. I haven't been to a game this year yet, but I want to get to one eventually. I think this team has a great chance. I watched the Maui Invitational, and I thought they really should have won it. Purdue's a tough matchup, though, against anybody. But I think that this team has a really good chance, with Tyler, Oso, and Cam. I think them three, leading the team. Is Stevie back yet?
Yeah, he just played the last game, so he's back.
Creighton, yep.
He did come back. I didn't get to watch last game. Cam and I were talking about that. I didn't get to watch last game against Creighton.
Yeah.
So him being back, I think, is huge. But with Cam, Tyler, and Oso leading the way, I think that team, sky's the limit for them. It really just depends on, who they run into in the tournament. I think the Big East is kind of what's the other top? It's them and
UConn.
Who?
UConn, and then Creighton's up
Yeah,
there.
them and UConn. So I think it's
Nova.
between them and UConn.
Yeah.
It's
Providence
crazy
is
to think
still tough.
about, Cam. You know, when we were, I mean, the Big East is down, more so down this year, I think. But
It's top
you know,
heavy.
Huh?
It's top heavy for sure. The bottom of the pack is definitely. When we were there, I think it was a little bit more well balanced. I mean, it goes in year in and year out, but it's a little more top heavy this year.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that, you know, we have a really good shot at the Big East. I think it's between us and UConn, and then Providence and Creighton, of course, are really good as well. They're right on that top 25 brink, I'm pretty sure. So I think with them, and I think who really is playing well that, you know, I like is Sean Jones. That's his name. Yeah, I like him a lot. I think when they come in and, you know, they bring that spark and that energy off the bench, and then when Joplin, when he does his, I think every team has that X factor, and I think Joplin, you're going to get, you know, your averages from Tyler, Cam, and Oso.
Yeah.
So I think for what's big for that team is, you know, getting Joplin, Sean Jones, getting those guys, Ben Gold, getting them involved. And when they come in and they do what they're, you know, required, I think when that team's really good when they do that.
Is there one thing in particular that you think stands out the most about, you've been on a lot of different teams, professional teams, you know, 2 different college teams, whatever, high school teams. Is there one thing that you look at that team and you're like, this is what makes them special?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a pretty easy one. And everybody that's on a team can kind of, I think, have the same answer. And I think that's like several words you could say, but I think like the connectiveness of the group, or like how together you are.
It jumps off the screen.
On and off the court.
Yeah.
I think that like can triumph like a lot of stuff. So like for me, some of the best teams I've been on are the teams that like where like everybody's like, you know, the quote brothers, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's connected, everybody's on the same page off the court, you know, there's nothing going on in between the group. You know, you're going out getting food together, you're doing stuff off the court together. I think those are the teams that are the most dangerous, because just that connectiveness can go a long ways on the court where like it doesn't really show up to say.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously Tyler Kolek. He's the head of the Snake on that team now. You guys have a lot of similarities. I wouldn't say necessarily like your games are that similar. He's more of a pass first guy. You really never passed, but you guys were ultimate competitors and not afraid to talk some shit and you know, get into people. What could you say about Tyler's game and maybe, you know, in comparison to yours?
Yes, I like Tyler. I like him a lot. So he went to George Mason before, and that's not far from the house. So I've heard of him before he kind of went to Marquette, and, you know, I'm always rooting for, you know, the undersized, under-athletic, you know, kind of the white point guard to say. Yeah. So for, you know, Marquette to have him, you know, kind of leading the way, I'm all for it. And you're right, he kind of has a different game, but I think his game really fits well with the team and what is required from him. You know, he kind of reminds me of when we played against Brunson in college. You remember him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He reminds me of that. You know, a little bit. Maybe Brunson was just a little bit more of a 3-level scorer, but he reminds me of the same way, getting into the lane, really poised. He does a good job of setting up the offense, getting everybody involved, making sure guys are in the spot. So he does a really good job of doing that 2-man game with Oso and then finding the other 3 guys. So he reminds me a lot of Brunson just at that college level, just the way they play the game.
That pace they play at, right?
I mean, great pace, yeah.
One thing about Brunson, like when we would play against him, is he played so slow, he had you off balance like all the time. And he was a big body, and Tyler's got big shoulders. And so like when he gets in there, he's constantly bumping you and just that little off balance stuff. And you did a lot of that too.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just crafty ways to score. And, you know, as a smaller guard, which at the higher level, they're smaller guards, you know, you learn those ways to score. So, yeah, it's just craftiness, using your body, pump fakes, ball fakes.
Yep.
Like you said, they're super shifty. So I think that's huge.
Drew, I want to ask you about Shaka. This was something we were going to talk about in our 3 courses, but I think it's more fun to bring up with you here. There's been a lot made about how he is on the sidelines with the defensive stance up and down. I don't know if you saw that at all on Twitter and whatnot.
I did. I saw that.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you love that energy from him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that energy because Shaka was at VCU when I was growing up, and I would always go to VCU camps. That's a local college where I'm at, so I was always around Shaka, and just like seeing that energy he brought and like the mindset he brings to a team, I always thought that was so cool. So to now have him, leading the program at Marquette and seeing that energy on the sideline, it's awesome. And it only makes your players and, the people supporting the program just that much more hyped to be around a team where, the guy coaching it is like that. So I think it's awesome. I saw some people hating on the video because he was kind of on the court. It looked like he was like, getting ready to trap the guy. I didn't even
damn near on the court for sure.
And
I saw a comment of like, they were like, Shaka was pretty much on the court, and I was like, dang, he pretty much was.
I definitely would not be driving baseline.
It kind of looked like he was like,
I thought he was about to steal the ball. He was stunned at him.
Dang. I was like, all right, whatever works. The guy went the other way, so I'm like, it must have worked.
Yeah, he added to that 32 deflection chart for sure.
Really, though.
I love it. Okay, last question for you. Are we going to see you in Italy?
Oh, is the Pope still Catholic?
I was wondering what you were going to use there. Which one you were going to go with. Well, we can't wait to see you in Italy, and thank you so much for being our first podcast guest. This is awesome.
Oh, it's an honor. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, brother.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Drew.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
All right, dog.
And that was our interview with Andrew Rowsey. He's always so much fun to talk to.
It was good to have him on. Some of those stories about, obviously Marquette being Villanova and the fun times we would have and, the grind that it is of, playing and going through school at the same time and obviously his experiences now and still hooping and doing a little training. It's fun to hear from him. So
yeah, we're always cheering you on, Drew.
Always cheering him on. Drew's kind of like family to us. He even lived with us for a long time during COVID, and so it's good to hear from Drew, and we're excited maybe to see him, like we talked about, at Cam's wedding in Italy and hopefully before that as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to our second episode of The Dinner Table. We'll see you next time.